Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga have a story of love and conflict. Many times Kuminga plays great games and is cited as a future star, other times he drops his production surprisingly and ends up having few minutes in the rotation and the player's name starts to be involved in trades. Jonathan Kuminga sometimes had conflicts with Steve Kerr. Would the Warriors be better off trading him for another player who would bring more defense and solidity to the Warriors? The Lakers want to sign Kuminga, but the Warriors could ask for big players like Christian Wood and Jared Vanderbilt. Unlikely to happen for various reasons. The depth of the Golden State Warriors has been a key factor behind the team's early success this season, but it's fair to say it's not helping everyone from an individual standpoint. Golden State's form as a team is clearly the number one priority, yet it has left a sense of awkward uncertainty for Jonathan Kuminga in regard to his long-term future at the franchise. A surprise team has been floated as a trade destination for Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga. After failing to reach a contract extension prior to the October 21 deadline, Kuminga was moved to the bench following the first 3 games of the season. To his credit, the 22-year-old has responded incredibly well in averaging 17.3 points and 4.8 rebounds on 52% shooting from the floor and 42.9% from three-point range in 8 games since moving to the bench. The question remains on where Kuminga fits in long-term, and whether the Warriors will be willing to pay him $25-30+ million per year as a restricted free agent next offseason. If Golden State are in any way unsure of their plans for Kuminga come the summer, then they need to be open to trade calls on the talented forward prior to the February 6 deadline. There are a number of teams who could take a risk on Kuminga's still somewhat untapped potential, but most of them would likely be young, rebuilding teams that could afford to give him far greater opportunity. However, another team that's been floated is the Los Angeles Lakers, with Luke Norris of Fansided suggesting the Pacific rival could target Kuminga in the coming months. The fact that he's only 22 also makes him a long-term option that the Lakers can build around once LeBron is gone, which one would assume isn't far away, Norris wrote. Davis, of course, will still be the centerpiece, but Kuminga would be a strong number 2 as he continues to develop. With LeBron James and Anthony Davis still leading the way, the Lakers are prioritizing winning and aren't your typical team that may have interest in Kuminga. Los Angeles could certainly do with some of the elite athleticism that Kuminga provides, but would he necessarily be a fit in the starting lineup next to James and Davis given the spacing worries? Then there's the issue of what the Lakers have to offer, and whether the Warriors would be willing to do business with a close rival. Norris has suggested a deal surrounding Rui Hachimura and a first-round pick among other exchanges, yet there's legitimate concern on the value for both teams. Given all the factors at play, it's difficult to see the Warriors and Lakers executing a trade that would send Kuminga to Los Angeles. There's a chance he remains a trade candidate ahead of the deadline, but no doubt Golden State are still hoping the former 7th overall pick remains a strong part of their future. Warriors Brandon Podziemski makes one thing clear to Steve Kerr on starting. After supplanting Klay Thompson from the starting lineup in the middle of his rookie year, Brandon Podziemski was poised to become a full-time starter in his second year. The expectations went sky-high after Golden State Warriors owner Joe Lacob boldly declared during the NBA Summer League that Podziemski is a future All-Star. But amid the Warriors' blitzing 9-2 start, Podziemski found himself in a different role, coming off the bench. "I don't think I really thought I was either gonna start or come off the bench," Podziemski told Heavy.com in an exclusive interview. "For me, it didn't really matter. I talked to Steve Kerr about it, and I just kind of made it clear that it didn't matter to me. It was just kind of I just want to play. And so whether that's coming off the bench or starting, that's all I really cared about." Podziemski's numbers have dropped slightly this season compared to his first year, in which he earned first-team All-Rookie honors. In 10 games so far this season, including 3 spot starts when Stephen Curry was out with a left ankle sprain, Podziemski is averaging 8.2 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 3.4 assists against 1.5 turnovers in 25.5 minutes. It's slightly worse than his rookie stats of 9.2 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 3.7 assists against 1.2 turnovers in 26.6 minutes. His shooting clip, however, is much worse, 38.9% from 45.4% last season. He's also shooting an abysmal 19.5% from the three-point line this season. But the Warriors have been 6.4 points better in 100 possessions when Podziemski is on the court, per Basketball Reference. Podziemski is more than willing to sacrifice personal glory for team success, which they are enjoying at the moment. Leadership crash course from 2 of greatest point guards. Kerr has been using Podziemski in a similar role Chris Paul had last season. Podziemski has gleaned from his experience playing with Paul, a 12-time NBA All-Star and one of the remaining traditional point guards in the league. He's also continuously learning from Curry, who revolutionized the game as a modern-day point guard. I think it was a little bit of learning from Chris and learning from Steph, both being point guards and being able to lead their team, Podziemski told Heavy.com. And now, it's my job in the second unit to lead us. Podziemski takes a lot of pride in the Warriors bench leading the NBA this season in scoring, with him the point guard. At 58.0 points per game, they are on pace to surpass the Los Angeles Clippers bench's 53.2 point scoring average during the 2018-19 season. I couldn't be more happy to see that, Podziemski said. I don't think the last 2 games we, the second unit, have played up to our standard, but I think from an overall perspective of the first 11 games, from my perspective as a leader and someone who contributes a lot to our second unit's success, I couldn't be more pleased. Steph Curry's successor. With starting shooting guard DeAnthony Melton out with a sprained ACL, there is an open spot in the starting lineup. But Podziemski isn't particularly focused on claiming that starting backcourt spot. Obviously, we all just found out, Thursday, November 14th, about Melton's injury, but we haven't talked about it, Podziemski told Heavy.com. I'm sure Steve and the staff will figure something out for November 15th game against the Memphis Grizzlies. And there's a bunch of different things he could do, a bunch of different players he could put in to fill that void. So we'll just see. Kerr had previously played Moses Moody and Gary Payton II next to Curry before Melton started in their last 2 games. Podziemski had only started when Curry was out. It's clear Kerr views Podziemski as more of Curry's backup. It's also a window to the Warriors' view of Podziemski as Curry's successor in the future, which reinforces Lacob's belief in the second-year guard as a future NBA All-Star. I don't think there's any pressure, Podziemski said of Lacob's lavish praise. I just think it helps me kind of have that, not satisfaction, but a good feeling that we're on the same kind of mindset. Because I believe I'm an all-star too. And so for you to believe, it is one thing. But then those people that are providing the opportunity for you to be an all-star, if they believe that same thing, it makes it much easier. And so for Lacob and the front office, and Steve thinking that I can be an all-star and have enough potential, it helps me just kind of be relaxed and just be able to play my game and not have to try to force anything. Brandon Podziemski partners with Invisalign to keep his confidence going. Aside from his golden locks, part of Podziemski's charming personality is his megawatt smile, which he flashes from time to time in between his scowls on the court. The 21-year-old guard has partnered with Invisalign to take care of his smile and keep his confidence going on and off the court.